Hi, I'm Lori.
And I'm Kevin, and this is No Longer Ashamed.
We are survivors of childhood sexual abuse.
And we're here to share with you that if you're a survivor, you don't have to be alone.
Our logo is a salamander, and the reason is a fire salamander can survive a fire, and you have survived a fire.
We want to help you with your journey to healing and hope.
We are all survivors together, and we walk this journey together, and you are not alone.
By telling our stories, we are hoping that you will have the courage to share your stories as well and find your voice.
Because stories are so important, and for so long I know that I wouldn't tell my story, but when I finally shared my story, that's when I got my freedom.
And this is our journey and your journey to healing and hope. So come with us. Another topic that I've been thinking about it's kind of a hard one. It's retribution. I've gone through cycles of feeling like I deserve some kind of retribution, partly because I had to pay for counseling for so long, and that was not easy. And I didn't have a lot of money at that time, and it was expensive. I didn't have insurance that covered counseling, so I was stuck finding. I luckily found a counselor that did a sliding scale, but even so, it was a lot of money, and I felt like I was owed something to get to a place of taking care of myself, and also the time, but also the time lost because my childhood was lost. It felt like, I lost a great deal of the things that I should have been enjoying growing up. Instead, I was suffering. And so I've gone through cycles of wanting retribution of some kind, especially before I was able to forgive the perpetrator. There was this time when I felt like he owed me something. And that's a really hard one for me. I don't feel like that's wrong. I think victims do deserve some sort of compensation for what they've gone through, especially from the perpetrator. But how do you get that?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I remember this gal coming to my house, and she had told me that she had been abused by a family friend, maybe young teen, maybe early 20s, the perpetrator. And I said, "Have you ever told your mom?" She goes, "Oh, no, it would break her heart because they love this family." But she did. She went and told her mom. And guess what? Her mom was like, "I believe you," and went to bat for her. And I was really happy for her. I really was, because wow, that was amazing. But on the other hand, I was like, wow, I never got that. I never got an apology. I never got anybody in my family saying, "We believe you, we support you." We just got alienated and estranged and all of that. And so I hear that. I'm really curious about what took you from the point of wanting that retribution to letting go of it into forgiveness.
The process of healing, process of taking care of myself, that became more important. That became my way of victory, was taking care of myself, learning how to heal, learning how to deal with my issues. And that was my form of victory, was getting better. And it still felt unfair that I had to go through that process. There was a lot of times it felt really unfair, and I had a lot of anger about that. But now that I'm come to this place of healing, I guess I feel like I've grown so much in so many ways that I'm better off now. And so it's not that I don't feel like I deserve retribution. I just feel like it doesn't matter anymore.
Like it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, that's basically, it's not going to make it better now because I've come to a place of healing. I've come to a place where I'm happy with who I am and I know who I am. And I think if there was retribution before I got to this place of healing, it might not have helped very much. It might have made things worse in some ways because I wouldn't have needed to do the healing. I would have just stayed where I was as far as taking care of myself, dealing with my issues. I wouldn't have had that drive to get better. So the retribution at that time probably would have set me back because I would have felt like, well, I got what I deserve. Now what?
Wow.
So I think, yes, it's unfair, but life isn't fair. I think that's one of the things I learned that was important. Life just isn't fair. You just got to deal with what you're dealt with. And so that was an important learning process for me.
Wow. And you know what makes me curious is when you say retribution, and then one of the things we see, we talked about this a few weeks ago about on TV, and that is the revenge. And what's the difference between revenge and retribution? Is it that you are going after someone or you're accepting a gift of,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like an apology? What is the difference?
Yeah, I think it's more revenge is trying to get back at someone for what they've done to you. And I never really sought that because I'm just not, I guess I'm not very violent. And retribution is just getting something that you deserve because of what happened to you, getting some kind of payback that makes you feel better. And I don't think either of them really make you feel better in the long run. Although apologies are important, they can make you feel better to a degree, but they don't really bring healing as far as I'm concerned. If a person apologizes, well, you feel like, oh, they acknowledge what they did anyway, but that doesn't really help in your healing so much.
Right. And you don't ever get it back. I mean, that's the why it's so hideous to abuse children, because you take away their childhood and they don't get it back. Now they can find healing and find ways to improve their life and find joy. But I think that's the thing that's so insidious, is that they take something that can never be
Replaced. Yeah.
replaced. Or yeah, like, oh, okay, you ruined my couch and you give me a new one, I can be happy because I got a new couch. But this is the kind of thing that I think only healing can bring that peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if we seek revenge or retribution, we're not necessarily seeking healing or, finding ways of addressing our issues. We're focusing primarily on them and what they did to us and what they should do now.
Right. And wanting them to suffer.
And that doesn't help our healing. That doesn't help our getting to healthy ways of dealing with things.
Yeah.
And
we even hear this with murder. The family wants closure. And even when they get it, they're glad. They're glad that person's in prison and can't hurt anybody else. But there's no closure until healing comes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think one way of retribution is having the law address the issue, maybe arresting the person and putting them on trial. But if they do arrest them and they put them on trial, the survivor is forced to testify, to go through all these horrible things. And that's not going to help them heal necessarily. And in many ways, it's going to make life worse for them.
Right.
Maybe after the trial, if the person's convicted and sentenced, they'll feel like, oh, well, they got what they deserved. But does that help you? I think it's important because it can take criminals, it can take people who are perpetrators out of being able to perpetrate anymore. And that's important. And it stops that cycle, but it doesn't necessarily make the victim feel better. Make the survivor come to a place of healing because they're still focused on the perpetrator. They're not focused on what they need, what they should be doing.
And it is a gift if you do get an apology or I was wrong or any of that. But often with sexual perpetrators, they don't really heal. They don't really stop what they're doing. And so it feels like, so that we go back to we had talked about holidays. So then you want to go home for the holidays and they say, oh, well, Uncle Charlie apologized. He's not like that anymore. So there can be that kind of masking of this whole thing. And I think that that's why it is really important to do our own healing, because once we're healed, we know what we know. We have intuition, we recognize things, and we get the support that we need to go on. So if somebody's just maybe blowing smoke saying, I apologize, and the family doesn't want to press charges and he's sorry, he'll never do it again. Because my daughter had a friend I got to know the mom, and she had been abused by her dad, but now her dad's babysitting the kids because he's better. And I was mortified. And at that point, I wasn't in a place in my life where I could say anything, but I just know that it set me back. I just could barely function for a couple days thinking, oh no, those kids, and he isn't better. Now he has access to your beautiful little children. So, sometimes getting the retribution might not really pay the price.
Yeah, it almost lets them off the hook in a way. And what's that do for you? It
Yeah.
just makes you feel like, oh, well, they apologized to me, but now they're still living their life the way they want. And
Mhm.
maybe they said they felt bad about it, but what does that really mean? Did they really
Do they really repent?
change? Yeah, did they really repent? Did they really change? Are they
Are
really
are
different?
future children safe?
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand why you want retribution and what that will really mean to you. For me, it meant I felt like I was owed something.
Hmm.
I felt like I was going through something I didn't deserve.
Which is
And
true.
yeah, oh yeah, those were all, but would it have made my life better at that time? And I think financially it would have been helpful.
Yeah.
I was really broke and couldn't afford that very well. But would it have helped me to heal? And I don't think it really would have done much in that way. As far as I don't think it would have helped me to work on my healing to
Mm.
get the retribution that I thought I deserved, that I felt that I deserved. I think I might have stopped at that point saying, because in at that time, I think it was like, I didn't deserve this. He owes me something. And if I got that from him, I might have been like, well, I did that. So now I'm good. And I wasn't good. And that wouldn't have made much difference.
Yeah, but that's a good point. And when we feel like we want retribution, that's a really good place to be because then we can ask ourselves the question, what is it we want? What is it we need? And is that the next step?
Yeah, how will that help me? How will that
Mhm.
matter? How will that change my life? And what do I really deserve? What would really help? Because financial, yeah, that's great, but is that going to help me heal? Well, it'll make my life easier as far as I won't have to live paycheck to paycheck and worry about my finances, but is that going to help me heal?
Yeah. And there are things to help with that more so now than in our day. Crime
Hmm.
victim compensation is one. There are services that will help with that. And again, that's not compensation. I mean, it's not retribution, but at least it's a way to help us get through when we're having to suffer and pay for these things that were never intended for our
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we did not deserve. And I think that that's important. I think another reason to go to the police and to report the crime is it can help as far as you can get compensation, but there is the fact that you got to go through the process, which could be really difficult, which can be really triggering, which can be even harder and set you back rather than bring you forward. It can make it even harder to heal, to have to go through that process.
Yeah.
So, what is it that really would help?
Yeah. And sometimes that's like a process too. It takes a while to figure out what it is you want, what it is you need, and we hold on. If we need that, we hold on to it for a while, and then maybe we come to a point where we go, it's not worth it. It's like what we talk about when we're so hurt and we're struggling, and that person isn't even thinking of us, doesn't even remember our name, and we're still paying the price for their,
Yeah,
I'm just going to call it sins.
their crimes. I think for me, I wanted them to suffer. I wanted them to suffer like
Mhm.
because I was suffering. And I wanted them to feel bad about themselves and about what had happened.
Mhm.
But focusing on that did not help me. I realized that wasted a lot of time feeling sorry for myself and wanting someone else to suffer. And it did not help. It did not help me at all. I know it's hard to avoid that.
Mhm.
And I know those feelings were real. I really wanted them to suffer, but that just wasn't really helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of almost a spiritual thing when we can go from being the victim and wanting to hurt those that hurt us
mhm.
to becoming the survivor that wants to help others who have gone through similar things.
Yeah, get to a place of healing so we can help others.
Yeah, it's changing our focus on, okay, I can't punish the abuser. I have no control over that. All I have control over is what I choose to do next.
Yeah, and I think that's why focusing on what matters was what helped me get through this. I think there was a time when I realized that just being angry and wanting them to suffer wasn't working. It didn't help me, it held me back. And in a way, it stood in my way of getting healing because I was so angry about it rather than trying to work through it.
Yeah. So when you look at a scale of 1 to 10 of where you were then when you were angry, what would you put yourself on the scale of 10 being content with your life, 1 being absolutely not?
Practically negative. And then
And then you get healing and you let go of that. And now what would you say you're at?
oh, yeah, I'm definitely on the top of the chart because
Yeah.
taking care of myself is what got me to this place of healing, not focusing on being angry at someone else.
Yeah. And I think the realization of there's nothing we could do about it. Like I think there's part of us that's angry at the abuser and then we're angry at ourselves that we didn't do more, try harder, say no, all the things we hear people say, and then just beginning to let go of all of that and go, okay, I just would rather heal and have joy and happiness in my life and peace and not be living to hurt others, but be living to help others.
Yeah, I was so focused on what had happened and how it had affected me and why it was so unfair. I think if we just think about how unfair it is, we're not going to work on getting better.
Yeah.
And that's when things changed was, yeah, going through therapy. And also, I think being in the men's group was really helpful as far as recognizing, yes, it was unfair, but life isn't fair. I mean, look at these other men that have gone through so much as well. Life wasn't fair to them,
Mhm.
but how do we change ourselves?
Mhm.
It's about getting to the place of healing and working on ourselves rather than focusing on, how hard it was and why did I deserve this? Rather look at what can I do about this? What can I do to get better?
Yeah. And that's a really great place to be.
It is now. It wasn't for a while.
But I think that's why getting in a group, a support group or a counselor is so helpful because you're not alone. You're not the only
Mhm.
one feeling angry and rage and madness. And it is a process. We don't just go from, oh, I was abused. Oh, I'm going to heal. It's a journey. It's a process. And we meet people at different levels, which one higher level gives us hope. Okay, there is hope. A lower level is like, oh, I can be some sort of influence. And suddenly our pain has more purpose.
Yeah, focusing not on what happened and how unfair it was, but focusing on ourselves and then on others and wanting to help others, getting that focus away from is what changed for me. And I think that's when I realized that my life can be better. And then when it got better, I can help someone else have a better life. And that gave me great hope. Just the fact that, yes, this happened to me, but I can use this to help someone else. And I feel like there's no greater purpose than that right now. If I can just help someone else get through it rather than get back at someone who did this to me.
Yeah, I think that's just such a visual of are we going to look ahead or are we going to look back?
Yeah,
And if we're going up the stairs or a mountain, it's way easier to look ahead than to be looking back because we're not going to make much progress.
it took me a while. It wasn't an easy switch. I'll admit, it took me a while. I was angry for a long time. And I understand that because I really messed myself up with all the ways I coped. And I blamed that person for having to do that, which was justified in many ways.
Oh, yeah.
But rather than just blaming them for what happened to me and blaming for what I did, I decided to change myself so I wouldn't be so messed up. And that's when the focus kind of shifted. And it's like, well, I can be better. I just need to learn how to be better. I can learn how to stop doing these things that are so destructive. I
Mhm.
just need to learn how to. And I need help with that, but it's possible. And I
Yeah.
don't have to submerge myself in just anger and hatred.
And I think the key is I need help with that. Like it's almost like the whole AA thing. We're helpless. Once we realize we can't do it on our own, we need community, then that's when it starts. That's when all the good things start. Doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean bad things aren't going to come up, but it's when we start to realize that there is really, really is hope.
Yeah. And recognizing that I'm not the only one that needs help. And maybe I can be there for someone else because they need help too. And I've been through it. So maybe my experience can help them because we're here for each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it shifted. And, it's funny because I haven't thought of it for a long time, but there was a long time when I really wanted something back. I felt like I deserved something.
Yeah. Wow. Kudos to you. Look at you now.
Well, wasn't easy, but it
No.
was worth it.
Yeah, I think that what a great topic. And, just revenge, retribution, all of that, we have a sense of justice in us. We want fairness,
Mhm.
but also we know we're not always going to get that. And if we wait around for it, we lose time. We lose, I was losing time by waiting for an apology. It wasn't going to come. And when I realized that, then the second time I was in a situation, which was a divorce, and I was waiting for apology, I knew it wasn't going to come. And I was able to move on faster
Yeah.
because, okay, I know how this goes. I'm going to sit and suffer and choose to suffer, or I'm going to get well and get past it.
Yeah, exactly. I think what mattered was realizing that focusing on that was just wasting my time, wasting what I could have been doing. And it was making it just worse. It was just, I was holding on to that and I was just going backwards. And when I decided I wanted to go forward was when I had to start laying go of it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I think, there are times when it's important to report,
Absolutely.
to, if you can, prevent that person from perpetrating anymore. If you can get crime victims compensation, that's really helpful thing. That's really important. But is it worth it to just sit in your anger and want to get back at someone? Is that going to help you?
Yeah. And as a coach, the question is, how's that working for you?
Hmm.
Being
Well,
angry.
back then, if you asked me that, I would have said, yeah, but, I didn't deserve this. I would have
Yeah.
just been focused on how unfair it was. And
Yeah.
it
Because it
would,
was.
yeah. And you'd ask me, how's that work? And I'd be saying, well, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't deserve this. I can't help it. It was done to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was feeling helpless about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I realized I could help myself, I could get help, I could change, how my life was going, that things turned around and I didn't focus so much on the unfairness.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing for everyone, whatever point they come to where they say enough is enough.
Yeah, I want to change. This isn't helping me. What will help me?
Yeah. And someone listening right now is struggling with that. And maybe this is going to be the thing that helps them say, it's not worth my time and effort.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I think this is a good time for us to pray.
So that's it for today.
We are going to have a prayer time if you want to stick with us. If not, we believe in you.
We want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories.
If you like this podcast, please rate and review because that's how other people can find us. And we really want to spread this message.
Father, I thank you for all your blessings and for your hope in our lives, Lord. Even when we're hopeless, you want to be there with your grace, with your mercy, and with your wisdom to show us that there is hope, that we can have hope, that we're not alone, and that there is help. And Lord, I just pray for anyone listening, if they're feeling helpless, if they're feeling lost, like there's nothing they can do, that they would find someone to turn to, someone to talk to about it, that they would find the guidance they deserve so they can get to the feeling of hopefulness, that they know that there's always a way to turn their lives around, that they don't have to feel hopeless, that they can feel like there is a way to change their lives. And Lord, I just pray that you would help heal their anger and their helplessness, that they can find healing in their lives, Lord. And most of all, I just pray that they wouldn't feel alone. In your name I pray.
And Father, thank you that you are a God of love and that in the Bible it says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And I used to think that meant I was waiting for you to strike someone down. But what I realized is that you take that you carry that. We don't, it's not our job, that we don't have to be the one to get revenge and make the person pay. And even though we want, that's our nature. We all want someone to suffer if they've hurt us. It's just nature. But Lord, I pray that we will find the way to let go. We'll find the way to actually repent. That word is to totally turn away from the way we're facing. And that's what it feels like. Can we turn away from wanting revenge to wanting healing and walk up the hill, walk in the direction of what is good and true and beautiful for our lives and what you always intended for us. And that just because we were abused and people did things that were wrong, we didn't deserve it, but also it doesn't mean that we don't still get to have a beautiful life, that you still are a God that can provide that in ways we never expected. And I thank you so much for that in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.